Steve Hayes, senior writer for the Weekly Standard. Kirsten Powers, columnist for the Daily Beast, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. Okay, Steve, so I guess the real question is Obamacare crumbling? I mean, is it in trouble this early?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we're seeing. And what you alluded to in your setup there is the problem. This is going to be the first of a number of delays. I mean, we've already seen chunks of Obamacare taken out. You've seen the Class Act repealed. You've seen you've seen challenges in the courts, some which weren't successful. You have other challenges potentially coming, one from Oklahoma. You have the Hobby Lobby question. And you have difficulties in the implementation of a number of these things. You've had governors resisting Medicaid expansion. You've had governors opting not to join, not to set up state exchanges. You've got at all points in the implementation of Obamacare, there are challenges and obstacles, to say nothing of the fact that the rule writing, the regulation that took place once the bill was originally passed has been delayed, has been unclear. You have businesses who are supposed to start implementing not only this rule but others who have no idea, have gotten no guidance from the federal government about how this is going to affect them. If you look at Obamacare in its totality, it is a disaster, and that's on the substance. The question, I think, politically for Republicans is how they handle it, and I think they would be wise to continue to pound away and make very clear their opposition to every aspect of this, because we're only going to see more of it.
Well, let's stick on the substance. I mean, do we think that implementing something like this is really going to be set back just by what has happened so far?
Well, I think there are challenges, and this is a setback. There's no question. That doesn't mean that it's crumbling, though. We have to see. They're saying they're delayed a year. There's obviously, the insurance companies are pointing the finger at the Obama administration, saying that they didn't really get their ducks in a row to get them prepared for it. Other people are saying that the insurance companies are the ones that are pushing back on it because they're very uneasy about this, because the pool is a very kind of unknown pool. It's not the way they normally do insurance, where people can just pick randomly. They like to know sort of what kind of pool they're getting into, what kind of risk they're taking.
But is it fair to say, Kirsten, that the administration pushed off the tough decisions past the election, so that a lot of the tough regulation decisions were delayed past Election Day, and maybe that's what has set some of this back? I mean,
it's hard to know what the motivation is behind it. I can't speak to that, but look, I do think that we weren't really talking about the underlying problem here of how this actually works. How do you get insurance companies to take this on and not go out of business from the fact that they're taking on very high-risk people, potentially? And so, yeah, I think it's going to be hard to implement. I don't think that means that it's not going to be implemented, though. It's delayed.
The bottom line, though, Charles, is that the thing that Obamacare is supposed to do, which is change the cost curve, it does not appear that it is set up to do at this point. In fact, the cost curve is going the other way.
Of course. I mean, we already know from CBO numbers that it will increase the cost of health care by $1.3 trillion. The reason that it's deficit neutral is because Obamacare at the same time increases taxes by the same amount plus $1, so that it looks as if it's not costing anything. But this is what happens when you have an administration that has the idea that it can reform, remake, and completely re-regulate 1/6 of the biggest economy on planet Earth. I mean, I'm not surprised that the regulations are late and they are unclear. And they are also incredibly arbitrary. The waivers people get, thousands of them. Who gets it, who doesn't? Somebody whom the government or the Democrats or liberals like, somebody that is not liked, are you going to get a waiver? Look, when you take away the essence of insurance, you set a premium according to actuarial risk. So if you're 60, your health care costs are 6 times what it is for a 20-year-old. So your premiums are 6 times as much. But the Congress, in its wisdom, has decided it should be 3 times instead of 6. So once you do that, you no longer have an insurance company. This is not insurance anymore. This is regulation. This is government-dictated rates, like the electrical company, and people are surprised that all of a sudden you've got all these things that aren't working harmoniously as you would in a market. So all of this stuff, the delays, the regulation, the arbitrariness, the unfairness, is a direct result of taking over a sixth of the American economy on a flyer in a system that nobody else has devised in the history of man.
Strong letter to follow.
Absolutely.
Steve,
and I'm just getting started.
And you're just getting started. Steve, one of the things is small businesses, the announcement today, a lot of senators and congressmen sold their constituents
no question.
on that. Another was the revenue producers, and one of them, the medical device tax. Liberals jumping with Republicans about that. Take a listen to Al Franken.
The industry is being punished for its innovation and growth. The medical device tax is cutting into the proceeds that go toward research and development and workforce training. And by taxing companies on the first dollar of sales, they are especially hurting the very small companies, startup companies, which may not be in profit yet. On this point, I disagree with the Obama administration, did from the beginning.
So liberals with Republicans in both the House and the Senate repealing the medical device tax.
Yeah, pretty significantly, too. It passed the Senate 79-20. Requires a good number of Democrats to have joined with them. I mean, here's what's interesting about this debate, and many others like it. When you take the parts of Obamacare one by one and ask members of Congress and ask the voters to judge them on their own merits, on their individual merits, people don't like Obamacare. The only way they sold it was as one package based on a lot of promises that we now see going unfulfilled. You know, it is the case that premiums are going up. It is the case that you're not going to be able necessarily to keep your own insurance. I mean, all of the promises that were made to sell Obamacare and all of the trade-offs. I mean, this was Mary Landrieu's trade-off. They've all been shown not to have been true, and I think that's why it's not inaccurate to say that this is crumbling.
So quickly, the bottom line: is there a giant fix-it to this law, or there's still a repeal effort
for the medical
underway?
devices?
No, for overall.
Well, I think Republicans will try to repeal it, but they're never going to get the Democrats to go along with that.
So do Democrats say, yeah, we have to get in here and fix it?
The medical device?
No, overall, Obamacare.
Well, yeah, I mean, the different areas, I think the only thing they've really said they want to fix is the medical device tax, and they seem to be resolved to do that.
Look, it was a majority of Democrats who supported the repeal of that tax today. And as this gargantuan Rube Goldberg machine unfolds next year and begins to fall apart, there'll be a lot of items on which a majority of Democrats are going to say enough.
Next up, how the administration is handling sequester furloughs.